Hello everyone, it's Shannon here for Heffy Doodle. In today's video, I'm going to share with you an idea for incorporating twine into your card designs. And we'll be creating this cute card with the Purrfect Day stamp set. I'm going to start today's card with the Purrfect Day stamp set. I'm going to take out some kitties from this set and stamp them onto some scrap of white cardstock. This is a really cute set. It even comes with a cat tree, so there's lots of fun interactive cards that can be created with this set. We are going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to incorporate kind of a three-dimensional element, which is twine. So I first just stamped them in Memento Tuxedo black a couple of times actually, so they're nice and bold and dark, and now I'm going to do some Copic coloring. The marker colors I'm using are on screen so you can follow along. I'm starting with my lightest gray, which is C1, and coloring in basically everywhere except for around the eyes and the tummy. Now I'm moving on to my medium shade, which is C3, coloring in around, kind of adding a shadow, kind of around the exterior of the kitty. And once I finish with that medium shade, I'm going to go back to C1 and blend out that transition between the medium and the light. Now I'm just adding a little spot above the nose with C3 and then C1, and now I'm going on to my stripes, starting with my darker medium here, which is C5, kind of adding in that foundation for the stripes. Now my markings or stripes here are a little bit different. I was inspired by Christina Werner's gorgeous kitties, Sophie and Daphne, and I am using their kind of markings for inspiration for how I'm going to color my kitties today. And after I finish that C5, I'm now going to C7, which is my dark here, and going back over those stripes, just kind of adding that darker color in there just a little bit, just directly on wherever I colored with the C5 previously. Now I'm going back over with C5, kind of blending out that C7 a little bit, and then I'm going back through, so now I'm on C3, kind of blending over everywhere where I colored earlier with C3, and then finally with C1, kind of blending that transition again. Now I'm going to finish up with my pink here, just color in the nose and a little bit in the ears, and then I will grab C1 here and just outline the ear a little bit, and that will actually complete my Copic coloring. At least my Copic coloring for my first cat. I'm now going to repeat this process for my other two cats. I'm using the same colors, same method as I did before, so it's pretty repetitive. Just a little bit tweaked because these cats are in a little different position, but again I'm keeping it white around the eyes and the tummy and then coloring the backs of the cats pretty much the same way. So I'm now going to move on to die cutting these cats out. I did it off screen here, and that cute little cat that's on its back, his arm pops up, so I just went ahead and popped up his arm, and now I'm going to position them here on an A2 panel of grid acetate, and I'm now going to work on getting my twine into the right position. So I just unraveled a fair amount of black and white twine, and I'm going to start kind of making my loops and playing with this twine and trying to kind of figure out my scene here. The reason why I have this acetate here is because it is an A2 panel size, and it's just going to help me know the confines that I need to work within to create my scene and get these kitties and twine the way I want them. So I just trimmed my twine. I have a little bit extra probably than I need, but that just gives me plenty to work with. I picked up this second cat here, and I'm going to wrap this cat with the twine. I'm going to wrap it around its ear once, then I'll go over the front, just kind of the forehead of the cat, and then go behind it, and then I'll go over the body with that twine one more time. Then I'll carefully hold everything tight, turn the cat over, and then I'm going to use a piece of Micropore Tape. Micropore Tape is actually like a medical tape. You can use whatever tape you have. Just cut a small amount, and I'm using that to kind of secure the twine in place behind the cat. Then I'm going to trim it because I had a little overhang and use that last little piece there just to kind of hold the little bit by the ear in place. Now I'm going to move on to continuing to kind of figure out where I want this or how I want this twine to look and how I want it incorporated with the kitties. I'm definitely going to take some of that twine and pop it into that little kitty's arm that I popped up because the die can cut that a little bit. There's so many stamp sets and dies that Heffy Doodle makes that allows you to kind of play with the arms or legs of the little critter, and I just think that's so clever and just adds for so much more fun. So I just changed the position of the twine a little bit here. Still, it's tucked inside that little kitty's arm, and I'm just finalizing my twine here. And now that I have it all arranged the way I like it, I'm going to take a picture of it. So I took a picture with my phone so I can refer to it later because I am going to have to take it off the acetate at one point. So I put my MISTI down on top of my kitties in the twine to hold everything in place while I add a piece of foam tape to the backside of each one of these kitties. So I'm adding a little foam square actually to the backside of each one of these cats. and I'll do it to this last one here. Again, placing that MISTI just on top to kind of hold everything in place because I'm not quite done with this arrangement yet. I do need it to help me get my positioning correct for my sentiment. And I used 2 foam squares for that kitty, and now I'm done. So I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to move on to my card base. I have an A2 top folding card base made from 110-pound white cardstock, and I'm going to adhere onto the front of that a pink panel made from 65 weight cardstock, and this panel is a little bit smaller than an A2 panel. It is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I used my tape runner, added some tape to the backside, and just centered that and stuck that down onto the front. Now I've moved on to my MISTI here. I've carefully grabbed my acetate, placed it on top of my card base, and I've kept all the kitties in Twine basically in the exact same position as before, and that just helps me to know what space I have to work with for the sentiment. So I positioned my sentiment, then I picked it up with my MISTI, and now I'm going to remove the acetate and stamp my sentiment. I'm going to use VersaFine Onyx Black ink for my sentiment. It's just a really nice pigment ink, stamps beautifully. I inked up my sentiment and then stamped it onto the card front. Then I took my card out of my MISTI and I rearranged off camera, matched up using my phone to help me, arranged my Twine and kitties pretty much to how I had it arranged in the photo. And then now I'm going to carefully kind of hold everything in place and remove the backing on the foam squares and kind of stick this down. Right now, nothing is going to be adhered except for the kitties. So right now, all that twine is still loose. There's nothing holding it in place. So I am trying to be careful here. I've grabbed a little sliver of foam tape just to add to the backside of that kitty's head, just to give it a little bit more support, and then stick that cat down. Now, to make sure that this twine kind of stays in place, especially for mailing, it doesn't get moved around, I have a little precision bottle here filled with matte Mod Podge. You could definitely use Ranger Multimedia Matte instead. I just found that this matte Mod Podge works really well, and it is much cheaper. So I just filled up a little precision bottle with that glue, and now I'm just lifting up small sections of my twine here and just squeezing out a tiny amount and then positioning the twine directly onto that small little dab of glue. And again, this is a matte version of Mod Podge, so this will dry matte, so it won't dry shiny, so you won't be, so if any does squeeze out from behind the twine and is kind of visible on the cardstock, it's going to be that matte, so it won't be shiny and won't be as noticeable as like a glossy glue. Now that I've kind of added a small amount to various places behind the twine, I'm now going to finish up this card with some Nuvo Crystal Drops. This is Morning Dew, which just is a clear color, and I'm just adding the tiniest amount onto the nose and the eyes. And once I finish that, I'm going to let this dry. So once the glue and the Nuvo Crystal Drops have all dried, I can now hold the card at the camera here so you guys can get a good look at the finished card. I really love how these cute little kitties came out. I think they look so perfect, and I had so much fun playing with this twine and kind of incorporating it with the cat, especially wrapping it around that one and tucking a little into that cat's arm. I just think this is such a fun card, and it really kind of tells a story with just very simple kind of design elements. I hope you guys enjoyed today's card and video. If you'd like any more information on the products I use, please head over to Heffy Doodle. Thank you so much for watching, and hope you guys have a wonderful day.